Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show on earth. Of course, this is Art of MMA. I'm Mike Inn, that's professional kickboxer. Brandon, the mechanic, Catino. Today, we're talking UFC on ABC 5, Josh Emmett and Ilia Topuria. Of course, we're talking about PFL 6, Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Anthony Romero, plus all the fallout that happened at that card. We'll talk about all that today. Before we get started, you know what it is. Go ahead and head over to FightersFirst.shop. Get the latest apparel. Let our apparel be a part of your story. Of course, you can get the latest from the Mechanic Collection. You can see down below him the Bombs and Drama shirt. We just announced on Crossing Borders last week. We got a new fighter coming as well in the MMA world. If you follow Luke's Fight League down in Mexico, we got a big signing, 6'6", 170-pound welterweight, Anwar Tarzan Alberto. His collection will be launching very soon. And of course, then we'll put it on social media. And the last bit of personal business going into this weekend, we will be celebrating our 2 years at Fighters First. So thank you. On Saturday the 1st, I will be doing a flash sale. I'll let you know on social media later this week what exactly that is. But I'm thinking, 20% off, celebrate the day. 2 years, 20%. Makes sense to me. So pay attention to that one on July 1st. Brandon, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Maybe you are right. Maybe I talk a lot to start the show. Little inside joke off air. Brandon, today we're talking UFC ABC 5, also talking PFL 6. But let's go ahead and jump straight into the action. UFC on ABC 5, Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. This was Josh Emmett's chance to kind of like hold on to his spot. It was Topuria's chance to back up all his trash talk to say he should be up at the top. And Topuria didn't leave much doubt. What'd you think of this fight?
Yeah, man, it was all Topuria, man. He went out and did his thing, man. I mean, his speed was on point. Combinations, power striking. He did it all. And to me, he, like I said, he took all 5 rounds. I think maybe one gave Emmett a round, but I really want to say that Topuria took all 5. And I mean, and you could tell by the scorecards, man. Like I said, there was some low scores for Emmett.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen a 50-42 scorecard before. But that said, I think maybe Josh Emmett maybe kind of snuck out the 5th round only because Topuria kind of took his foot off the gas. There was a lot of talk that maybe Emmett's coaches shouldn't even have let him come out for the 5th round. At some point, you got to protect your fighter. But that said, Josh Emmett would go through a brick wall. He will never stop coming. So you always got to be careful. Very dangerous opponent. Even though Topuria, dominated that fight, he still was sporting the shiner after the fight because he was in a fight. But look, man, Topuria, it doesn't matter if it's 45 or 55. He's been calling out anybody and everybody. He still wants to kick Patty's ass. He wants to fight Volkanovski. He wants Max Holloway in Spain. Like, he wants the big fights. He wants the smoke. He wants everybody coming at him. This fight, man, he dominated everywhere it went, on the ground, on the feet. When he landed punches, like, listen to that replay. You can hear that violence. Like, it was like, boom. Like, every time he sat there and landed, it was like fireworks going off. Topuria's been proving himself. He's up to number 5 in the rankings. Of course, we kind of, we talk about this every week. Like, if you lose against the champion, you don't really fall that far. So you still got a little cluster up top of the featherweight division. You got Yair Rodriguez getting ready to fight Volkanovski in International Fight Week. But then you still got Max sitting there, even though he's lost a few fights. He's still number 2. He's getting ready to fight Zombie. Ortega's sitting there number 3. Arnold Allen number 4. And then, Topuria's number 5. As far as what's next, I don't know what's next for Josh Emmett. I think he really needs to evaluate what a 38-year-old does after a fight like that. But he can also have a number of fun fights. There's always, running it back with some of the other fighters in the division, the Calvin Caters, the Zombies, the Chikatis, all these people. That could be a fun fight. But for Topuria, I think he has to actually wait. Like, I don't see – he said it himself. He wants the title next or Max Holloway in Spain. And Max is tied up with Zombie, so Max isn't fighting anytime soon with him. And you got Yair and Volkanovski, and the way those guys fight, that's probably going to be a 5-round battle. So they're probably not going to fight again until the end of the year. Topuria could be next. Do you think Topuria should wait and get that title shot?
I mean, Toporia just fought, so and Volkanovski's fighting next week, so they're 2 weeks apart. So those guys are close, and Volkanovski he likes to fight often. So to me, I don't see why not that one work out. Like say like last time Volkanovski fought, he fought last July, and then he again in January, but that's because
lightweight.
But that's because he was waiting for the champion because the champion had to fight in October. So to me, man, both guys are good. I mean, they could be on that MSG show in November.
I could see that. I could also though see Volkanovski still talking about wanting to get another shot at Makhachev. So I think it really has more to do with what Volkanovski wants to do. If of course he holds on to his title against Yair, Yair can mess up everything, take that title, and then now we're looking at Yair versus Volkanovski 2, a rematch down the road, and then Topuria is waiting even longer. It's really hard when you're in that position from the outside, especially when you're all the way down to number 5. It's not like he's sitting there at number 1 or 2. You know, he has to like go through other people. So if Yair messes everything up and takes the title from Volkanovski, now we're talking, all right, maybe he has to wait till next year while they sort out whether Volkanovski gets a rematch or wants a rematch.
Who's ranked number 3 again?
Well, so it's Yair with the interim title at 1. Max at 2, Ortega 3, and 4 is Arnold Allen.
Yeah, Arnold Allen, I got because he just fought Max, so he dropped down. But dude, man, Brian Ortega, I don't know what. I'm sorry, man, dude. When was his last W? You know, exactly. What was his last W? A zombie, I think, right, as well.
Because zombie because he hasn't. He fought 2 times in the last. He's fought once a year, basically. He lost to Volkanovski in that title shot. Then he lost to Rodriguez in the interim title shot.
So I'm saying, and somehow he's still in the top 5.
Like you always say, they have a problem with the rankings. They just leave people there until somebody jumps up above them.
Yeah.
And so it's like probably be number 3, probably.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's where. So me in my head, that's why I have Toporia being number 3. We already know Max and Volk not probably going to happen next. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I think Toporia is there. Unless Rodriguez does win, then maybe they're running back with Volk or what maybe. Or maybe Volk says, you know what, I'm going to go up to 155, and then that way you can have Yair Rodriguez versus Topuria as well. You know,
problem with Max is like the gatekeeper now, right? Because Max beats everybody not named Volkanovski. Yeah. Like he destroyed Arnold Allen. Like everybody's like, oh, Max is on his downside after that Volkanovski fight, comes back and just destroys Arnold Allen and just messes that all up, right? And now Max has even said it himself. He's kind of in the mood for fun fights, right? He wants fights that are going to challenge him. He knows he's not getting a title shot after losing 3 times to Volkanovski. So at this point, he's talked about going to lightweight. He wanted the zombie fight. They're going to do the zombie fight. So there's a lot, that could happen between now and then, injuries and everything else that messes things up. And like I said, Yair Rodriguez could just mess everything up because Yair was honestly on the outside looking in until he got that interim title shot. And he won. Yep. He dominated Ortega and he won. And so now he's the guy fighting for the title when we thought after he lost to Max, he was done. But here he is. So he has another chance, and second chances could be everything in this business. So that's going to be a lot of stuff to work out in the featherweight division. And like I said, Topuria could also pop up to lightweight for a fight too, because he definitely wants that Patty fight eventually. But Patty's coming back from an injury. He might even rematch with Jared Gordon. So we'll see. Over in the co-main event, one of my favorite fighters, the future, Maycee Barber, looked fantastic in a bloody battle with Amanda Ribas. What did you think of that fight and what happened?
Yeah, man, it was a good fight for Maycee Barber, man. Went out and just Ribas, especially when Ribas was going for that leg lock. Maycee Barber just kind of sat there, man, and just started running away. Like, that's really the thing with Maycee Barber. Maycee Barber doesn't really try to find a submission. She tries to find where it is that she can do damage whenever the fight's on the ground, and that's what she was doing. And she was making Ribas pay, and then she was able to get the finish. Yeah,
she did a really good job counterpunching. It's that Team Alpha. Ever since she's gone over Team Alpha Male, she's gotten so much better with her technique. She had potential before, but going to Team Alpha Male, Uriah Faber, and Mallet and those guys, they've just made her such a more well-rounded fighter. She still struggled a couple times, but now I think she's won 4 straight, 5 straight maybe. And she's kind of made it interesting, 5 straight. That fight with Rebus was still doing things with grappling, but Maycee was finding ways to counter and really mess her up, and it became a bloody battle. I will say one thing about this fight, and this is 2 weeks in a row, because I think it was PFL the week before. Keith Peterson needs to be out of this business. You've heard Dominic Cruz say it before. He let that fight go way too long. Amanda Rebus was not defending herself. And to the point where after she grabbed the leg, she was getting hammer-fisted in the face without fighting back. Then she let go of the leg and just collapsed to the ground and took several more shots before Peterson finally jumped in and stopped the fight. This is 2 weeks in a row. And Peterson's been reffing a long time. At some point, you got to hold these referees accountable too, because the last thing this sport needs, no matter how long and how established the sport has gotten over the last 20 years, is for something bad to happen to one of these fighters. I'd rather be sitting up here with you complaining that a fight was stopped too early and knowing that fighter can come back and fight in a few months than sitting there thinking about something bad that just happened. Never been a fan of Keith Peterson. He's not one of the top 5 referees that we talk about. He's not like when we criticize Herb Dean, at least we know Herb Dean's been one of the best at many times. You criticize him because you've seen how good he could be. So when he does something messed up, you're like, man, come on, Herb. But when you see it with Keith, it's like a Mario Yamasaki type deal. Come on, how many times? It's like that French referee last year that almost let a fighter get damn near and get killed. You have to protect the fighters. That's your job. That's number one. Protect them from themselves, but you have to protect them. And in that case, I think he let that one go way too long, and Amanda took way too many shots. You're laughing. What's up with that?
Well, the reason why I laugh is because I think last week, because I know you said Dom Cruz got on him, but on this fight, Dom Cruz praised him for stopping the fight because he said he gave that fighter every chance to defend, and then boom, then he stepped in. So this time Dom didn't criticize him, said good job, ref, and here you are saying, oh, Keith Peterson did a bad job. But
I got a few complaints about Dom lately. He's been very hypocritical with what he says one way and then another way. Dominic Cruz is all over the map when you listen to him talk, so a lot of times I try to mute him. I got a lot of problems with what DC's been saying lately. I don't know. I just watch the fights, and if I listen to the announcers, it's usually listening to John just call the action, or Brendan or any of the other guys they have going play-by-play, because other than Paul Felder, I can't stand listening to any of them. And I think it was Paul this time actually that was commending letting them fight. I think it was actually Paul, not Dom, but I could be wrong.
No, this for the ABC, it was
Dom.
Yeah, it was Dom, okay. DC, and John Anik.
Yeah, look, I Dom's right there cage side. I get it, but watching it on TV, it looked brutal. It really looked like she took way too many shots.
I didn't have a problem with the stoppage. I thought it was good. He said he gave her every shot and she got out. To me, man, Amanda Rebus, I don't know if this is her. Hey, like I said, I'm not in there. I don't know how her weight cut goes, but to me, I'm not sure if 125 is the division for her. I know she's kind of flipping, going back and forth between 115 and 125. I don't so I'm saying I don't know if the weight cut going down to 115 is too much for her. But I can tell you this, man, her striking defense, she got to work on that, because that's the thing, man. Her head moving is staying there still. That's to me something that she needs to work on. If she can get her head moving, her head defense going, then maybe she could be all right at 125. But you
look at the losses, right? The losses have all been to strikers. She lost to Marina Rodriguez, Caitlin Chukagian, now Maycee Barber, but she beat the grapplers Viviane Araujo, Verna, Paige Van Zandt, Rhonda Marcos, Mackenzie Dern. She beat all those grapplers. Her problem is with the strikers, like you said.
Yeah, but again, what weight classes was that? Caitlin Chukagian is 125, Maycee Barber 125. So far you told me 2 L's. I didn't remember the first one. I don't remember what you said.
Marina.
Was that at 125 well, or was that 115?
I want to say it was at. I'm not even sure where that fight took place. I want to say that was probably a strawweight fight.
Because so far you're saying her wins. To me, I felt like all her wins were at 115.
I mean, she's one of those rare fighters that's actually. This is funny. She's ranked after this fight. She's ranked 11 in both divisions because she does go back and forth. I think that was a strawweight fight, and then before that, you have to go back to her first loss against Polyana Viana. Once again, somebody who strikes. Mm-hmm. You see a trend. If she doesn't get that defense up to par, she's never going to be a top contender. She's a fun fighter. She's still super young, 29 years old. She can do a lot of fun fights. But if she doesn't shore up, if she doesn't become more than just a grappler, what is she? And she's showing hands. She can throw hands. She just can't defend. Mm-hmm. So as far as Maycee's in a weird position right now because she's won 5 in a row. She's definitely a contender per se in that division. With Alexa Grasso, the champion, who also happened to be her last loss, which she wants to avenge. Alexa's tied up with doing a rematch on Valentina. And then you have Aaron Blanchfield, who's on the rise. Santos is back. Fiera's talking about going different divisions. Andrade is going different divisions. Also, by the way, I think UFC rankings have been kind of lazy because Andrade is also number 5 in both divisions. You got Caitlin there. You got Lauren Murphy there. I mean, I would like to see her against Lauren Murphy. I think that would be a fun fight. She stumbled a little bit, and she's bounced back with 5 in a row. I don't think she's ready for that rematch with Grasso, only because that's such a large jump from 8 to title shot. What do you think should be next for her?
Yeah, I mean, I would be down for that Lauren Murphy fight. Why not? I don't know if Lauren Murphy has anything on the books yet, so Maycee Barber is ready to go now. Maybe they can get something going. Like I know. I usually everybody like that top 5 is kind of already booked up. Farrell is fight Rose. Because Rose is moving up to 125.
Rose is moving up for a division for that fight. People getting over. People jumping to conclusions. They're like, "Oh, Rose is leaving the division. She's only going for that fight. We'll see after that."
Yeah, and then Blanchfield is fighting Santos. So. Those people are all booked up. So I mean, Maycee would have to wait if she was trying to fight the winner of one of those fights. Not so. I mean, hey, if Lauren Murphy
and Andrade is flirting with retirement, so
yeah. I mean, hey, man, if she wants to try to get a big name, I mean, you can fight Andrade. She's always ready.
I will say this one thing about Maycee. She has this one benefit. She hasn't fought a lot of those top fighters yet. Like she's been coming up. And, she had the back-to-back losses with Montefiore, and I believe the other loss was to Grasso. But other than Maverick and Jessica Ai, a lot of the fighters she fought was coming up on the way up the same ranking as her. So she has a lot of new faces. It's not like rematches, somebody she already faced. Everybody in that top 8 is brand new opponent for her. So I think that's a benefit. She can stay active and keep going. But a couple more wins, she might get that Grasso rematch if Grasso holds on to the title against Valentina. But Valentina could also just take it right back. And we'd be talking about, what's next for everybody. That division, much like the men's featherweight division we just talked up, is kind of like a stalemate with everybody kind of still in the same rankings they've always been. But, we got to see what happens with that rematch and when that rematch happens because they still haven't announced it.
I think it's going to be September.
September, yeah. I've heard September. I've also heard they might push it all the way back to November. So I know they're trying to load up that MSG card. So I've heard they might push it back to that as well. So we'll see. I don't think they've officially announced it though, have they?
I thought it was going to be T-Mobile Arena for Mexican Independence Day.
Let's look real quick. That's the benefit of the internet. They're targeting it for September 16th, but they haven't actually announced it, confirmed it yet. That's the latest from just a couple days ago. That said, Maycee Barber definitely on her way up. I'm really excited about her future. Unfortunately, we didn't get much out of the Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane fight. They're going to run it back eventually. Nasty eye poke. Tafa, I believe, had to go to the hospital over it to get that everything checked out, but I heard he's going to be okay. David Onama, this guy is so dynamic when he strikes. Just knocked Santos clean out. Didn't leave Peterson any room to not stop this fight. He was out. What did you think of Onama's performance?
Yeah, man, good fight. Good finish, good stoppage. That's it, man. Let's see what's for him.
Yeah, I think he's got a bright future. Obviously, a long way to go. He's still down in the rankings. He needs to work his way up, but he is definitely somebody to keep an eye on. Brendan Allen with another really good performance. Ever since he lost that fight to Chris Curtis, he's now pulled off 5 straight. Other than Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland, it's been a while since he's faced defeat. So he's working his way back up in that middleweight division. Big submission win over Bruno Silva. Neil Magny, split decision over Phil Rowe. You think that was a good decision?
Yeah, man, dude. Neil Magny. I really thought there was no.
I didn't think there was debate, but judging.
Exactly. I thought it was Neil Magny all the way. But.
Yeah, I thought Neil took it. I thought it was pretty obvious to me. But MMA judging always likes to be funny and make sure that they're there. And now him and Ian Gary and him are going back and forth, so that might be something we see soon. Randy Brown with lots of good news. He not only got the win against Turman, it turns out his dad might be coming home after 30 years, so good for Randy Brown. Mateus Rebecki with the big TKO over Red Zahobiv. Tabitha Ricky with a big win over your girl, Jillian Robertson. Joshua Van with the win over Zumagulov. If I butcher any names, I apologize. They're not making it easy on me this week. Jose Mariscal with the win over Trevor Peake, decision. Jack Jenkins with a split decision win over Jamal Evers. That one was a lot closer fight. I really wasn't sure about that one. I actually had Evers winning personally, but and then Dumas with the decision over Cody Brundage. Any of those other fights kind of stand out to you?
Hey man, I know they had talked about it on the show when they had Dean Thomas come in, but it was like one of those things where when he was coaching up Jillian Robertson, man, like I guess it just wasn't her night, man. She just wasn't flowing, and he was trying to motivate her, but she just couldn't get going. So Tabitha Reed was a baby shark over here, just went out and just did her thing.
I know I was trying to avoid saying the words. I didn't want the song stuck in my head again. As somebody who grew up raised in the DC area, especially when the Nats were on their World Series run, and Baby Shark was the song that came on all the damn time at every game. It just stuck in my head, and like I did not want to give Ricky that name. Like I didn't want to say it. I was like, it's gonna get stuck in my head again. And guess what? Right now, all I can think is Baby Shark.
Yeah.
Congrats to those artists, because man, that song that's gonna be catchy forever. And it started off like what it would be a kid's song. Now everybody sings it. And Jillian's problem is that she's just so up and down. She'll win a couple, lose. Win a couple, lose. Of course, that JJ Aldridge fight last year. Before that, Maverick and Santos. But everybody else, she gets in that grappling situation. She's there. She's a grappling queen. But if she has to stand and bang with you, she's gonna be in trouble. So. Kind of like the Rebus situation, right? Like she doesn't know how to move her head, doesn't know how to get out of the way. But also that says a lot about Tabitha Ricky, who just had a really good, strong performance. So that is UFC on ABC 5. Like we said, Toporia going straight to the moon. Like this guy, he talks the trash, he backs it up. That's everything Dana could want in a fighter. He's going to hype up the fight, but he's also going to back it up and show up. He shows up all the time. So it doesn't matter what division. So big night for UFC on ABC 5, or big afternoon, I should say. Over in the PFL, PFL 6, the regular season finale. Of course, they also got the Europe side of things going on as well. But headlined by Olivier Aubin-Mercier versus Anthony Romero. They had the lightweights and the welterweights finishing up the night. We'll start in the main event. Not much to talk about. Third round knockout, big knee from Aubin-Mercier. The guy has not lost since he stepped into a PFL cage. What did you think of that fight with Anthony Romero?
Yeah, man. Canadian gangster, man, just on the tear, and I'm pretty sure he's probably going to be back in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, look, he kind of got fortunate the way things kind of worked out, because he is now the number 2 seed because of the decisions in the third round and everything else. So he actually gets to fight Miranda, who, by the way, 2 wins. He's undefeated as well. So he's a tough Bruno Miranda. But he doesn't have to face Collard or Burgos until the finals. So he kind of got fortunate. Of course, we'll tell you why Shane Burgos is in the finals in a minute. But, he kind of got lucky the way the rankings came out to give him an easier path, right? Aubin-Mercier hasn't lost since the UFC. He came over in 2021 after taking some time off, let some injuries heal, and he has looked great. His last loss was all the way back to Arman Sarukian back in 2019. And before that, it was Gilbert Burns and Alexander Hernandez, like 3 losses in a row, but all top fighters. So it's not like, he came in to take the easy path, because then he immediately came in, knocked off Marcin Held. He beat the defending champion, Schulte and Manfio, Stevie Ray. He beat your teammate Shane Burgos earlier this year in his debut. Like, he's gone through everybody they put in front of him. Other than when he got hurt the first year is the only reason he didn't win a championship the first year. So he is the guy to beat right now in that lightweight division. Of course, over in the co-main event, defending champion Sadibou Sy made it look easy against Shane Mitchell. It was a highlight show. Spinning kick after spinning kick, used that range, that reach. What do you think about Sy's performance, and what do you think about him going forward into the welterweight playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, my man called it out. He had said, in his pre-fight that he felt that this was going to be a highlight video, and which it was, man. Do spinning kick, put the man out, finished it. Like you said, ever since he's gone to Extreme Couture, to help shore up his wrestling defense and everything like that, man, he can just let his hands go. He's known as a striker, but all he had to do was kind of work on his wrestling defense, which he's done, and you see the success that he's been having, man. You hear Randy Couture is always talking about it over and over, because he sees it. He sees the guy training. When he's there at Extreme Couture. So I mean, shout outs to Sy. I mean, I really don't know who's going to be the person to beat him this year.
Well, he's got a tough matchup, and we'll talk about his fight in a second. But Carlos Leal looked great this season, and that's who he's matched up in the playoffs. You're talking about 2 guys going for the knockout. Leal had 2 finishes, and that's going to be an exciting matchup when they fight in the playoffs, because those 2, that could be a show. And funny enough, and we'll get to his debut in a minute as well, if Sy had somehow lost this fight, your boy might have snuck into the playoffs, because he came in one fight, Solomon Renfro, and got the stoppage. But unfortunately, he was way. The distance between number 4 and 5 was dramatic, because there's so many finishes in the welterweight division this year. Your other boy, Shane Burgos, teammate Tiger Schulman's, he came back, got the unanimous decision, and then against Nishikawa. Funny enough, if Shane had gotten a finish in this fight, there would be no controversy going forward. There were a bunch of guys tied at 3 points, and we'll talk about what happened with the other 2, but there will be no controversy. So I'm going to hold off on what you think about the Shane result as far as his standings, but what did you think of his fight?
It was good, man. I mean, he went out, did his thing. He kind of went back to his ground game. Took the guy down and just beat up on his body.
That's something you never see. And we always talk about Shane having this grappling background, and he just never does it.
Yeah, but this fight he did. I guess he saw something. I mean, he did have the size advantage. Was taller than this guy. I mean, I don't know if this guy is actually a featherweight, but I mean, I think they said that he likes fighting bigger guys, because he feels like he takes away their powers or something like that when he beats bigger guys. So, but again, man, shout outs to Shane. He went out there, did his thing. I think he was getting like 30, like 26 scorecards on this guy. So, kudos to him for getting the job done. And like I said, with everything going on, he's in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a knock against Nishikawa, but the guy's never really fought outside Japan until this year with the PFL, and he's lost both fights to Collard and Burgos. So, but he's taken both those tough fighters to decisions. So that says something about him. But 0-2 in America, but he has a 21-3 record outside of America. So, and then he also does a lot of different things. I want to say he does a lot of Shudo fights and other things like that. But tough run in the PFL this year, going up against two top fighters like Collard and Burgos. So, Magomed Kamirov shows once again why he's one of the best welterweights in the world. Just dominated David Zawada. Do you think Magomed might find himself back in that finals against maybe Sai or Liao?
Yeah,
Olatov.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably see that. You know, like I said, it probably might be him versus. I probably want to say I probably would lean towards him versus Sai in the final.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a very tough matchup with Umlatov. Magomed Kamirov is another one of those guys. If he didn't get hurt, right? Because him and Ray Cooper were going back and forth for years, and he looks every bit. 2 finishes, both first round finishes this year. People don't talk about him, but this guy is a great fighter. Can do everything. Go on the ground, stand and strike with you. He's going to be a problem. Sai didn't have to fight him last year, so he's going to be a problem if they fight in the finals. And then also, you talk about Umlatov with the win over Niab Lopez, got the decision, got himself in the playoffs. Clay Collard was a big win over Stevie Ray, knocked him out in the second round. Stevie Ray called it a career for the second time. He had retired back in the UFC after he fought Michael Johnson. I don't know if people remember. And then he took a couple years, got himself right, came back in the PFL, had a good run. He knocked off Pettis a couple times, but did not have a great season this year. And Clay Collard, and this guy is always there every time we talk about him, right? What'd you think of Collard's performance?
Yeah, man, Clay Collard's thing, man. I'm saying he too, just like Shane. I mean, they're must see TV. They're 2 exciting fighters. If you know Clay Collard is fighting, it's going to be an exciting fight. And that's what he did. Went out and did this thing against Stevie Ray. And hey, man, kudos to Stevie Ray on a career. He's saying he made it to the final last year, but hey, man, it just wasn't his time. And just hopefully things go well for him in this future.
Yeah, he said he wants to focus on helping train the next generation. He wants to focus on coaching and doing some things he loves. And if you're not 100% in the game with your head, it's better you don't fight, because then you're going to get hurt. So he wants to be around it. He wants to teach and train, and that's what he wants to do. So, he'll sit there and be like, well, hey, I fought professionally in the UFC. I fought in the PFL. Listen to what I say, and that goes a long way. That goes a long way with kids coming up and other fighters training. So I think he'll be a pretty good coach. He has a little bit of everything, striking, grappling, especially, the grappling part. So he can definitely be a hell of a coach. Like I said earlier, Carlos Leal, another finish. Delano Taylor never really had a chance in this fight. Taylor had a really strong season last year, found himself up against Sai. But Carlos Leal looks like he's on a mission this year. What do you think Leal's chances are up against Sai in the playoffs?
I mean, hey, man, always got a chance, I just think that I feel like Sai, of course, being the tall guy, has that reach, and I think he knows how to use it, so that's why I think he'll be able to keep Allow away from him and just be able to pick his shots. But I could be wrong. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
I mean, the last time we all picked against him, he beat Ray Cooper, and we all were like, "Oh, this guy coming up last second, wasn't supposed to be here," and he beat Ray Cooper. He lost against Sai in the finals. Came back this year on a mission, 2 straight KOs. So Leal's going to be a problem. It's going to be a fun fight. I would say we may not have gotten the playoffs we expected, but we got some pretty fun fights going into these playoffs. Schulte and Manfio. Okay, so Schulte gets the decision win. Both fighters get suspended from the PFL for a lack of performance. Brandon, this sends all kinds of bad vibes, right? For one, the matchmakers choose who fights in the regular season. This is not like the playoffs where it's kind of like seeding. You got to go do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. For 2, Nathan Schulte is the godfather of Raush Manfio's daughter. These 2 are exclusive training partners. They know everything about each other. So even if they're going in 100% to fight each other, they're careful about everything because they know everything's on the line. They also know that what each other can do. Nathan Schulte came out after this fight and said it was very judgmental. Francis Ngannou is supposed to be on this fighter board that's supposed to help these fighters. Well, you came out and did the same thing against Derek Lewis. Maybe you should come out and speak up for me. And what happened, Raush Manfio, same thing. His management from Sucker Punch came out and kind of threw the whole thing under the promotion under the bus as well, because what kind of precedent does this set if the promotion can dictate results? Shane Burgos, Nathan Schulte, and Raush Manfio all had 3 points. So their tiebreaker system is a little funky anyway. So I'm not really upset that Shane's in the playoffs because he had the same amount of points. But what I'm upset about is the way it happened. You took a fighter out of the playoffs who could win $1 million for a high-profile signing like Shane Burgos. So now all of a sudden people are thinking, all right, here's the conspiracy, right? They wanted Shane in those playoffs because they're paying him a lot of money. What do you think of this whole situation?
Man, I mean, if you really want to go to their contract, it says that I think like both fighters have to basically like bring it, and if you don't, like they revert back to the commission. But if the commission doesn't find anything, then of course the promotion can always change change things up to how they see. So I mean, if you really want to go by it, like they're sticking to what their contract said. They felt like, Schulte and Peter didn't really do anything. It was just like a sparring match. They weren't really trying to tear business. But again, that's on them. They're the ones who made the fight. Like, I don't know why they would do it unless they're like, oh, these guys are good buddies. They're going to know each other. It's going to get a good fight. But in reality, it wasn't. Like you saw after the fight, man, Schulte was basically crying his eyeballs out. He was on his knees and had to be consulted. But I mean, hey man, it's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, man, I don't, like they had that controversy with DraftKings, and now they got this. It definitely is
the Fabricio Verdum situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a good look. But again, if it's in their contract where they can, if you're supposed to fight. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, like, how do you know? Like, how can you kind of prejudge it and be like, oh, like, oh no, these guys didn't really try or anything like that. So, like I say, it can be.
I think it's a bad look. I think for a promotion that screams out fighters first, no pun intended. I mean, that's what Ray Seflin and all them kind of label PFL as fighters first. I think it's a bad look for them to the fighters. I think now you're becoming the judge. Now you're sitting there saying these guys didn't bring it when they could have just been overly, strategizing, trying to like find a weakness, and they know each other so well. You sit there and now put yourself in the fight. And the winner of all this is Shane Burgos, who is your high-profile signing. So it's a bad look. Did we get an exciting playoff matchup? Yes. But was it the one that was supposed to be? No. And for somebody like Schulte, who's a two-time champion, that's it's a bad look for a guy. Like now when he wants to go re-sign this promotion, does he re-sign? Because he's going to look at that now and like, maybe I should go to Bellator. Maybe I should go to UFC. Of course, Bellator might end up being swallowed up by PFL anyway. But he might look at other options now when his contract's up because of this. Same with Raush Manfio. And these are two top 155-pound fighters that you don't want to lose off your roster. I think on the other side of it, I just think it's a bad look for PFL getting in there and changing results, basically changing it to whatever they want. You just don't do that. And then for the matchmakers, I think it's also bad on the matchmakers because they're going to know, why did they make this fight? You clearly were not thinking about your fighters when you were making it. You were looking at a piece of paper and saying, hey, these two guys haven't fought before. This will be a fun matchup for the fans, without doing your research on the fighters that you're now putting into. And I don't know who their matchmaker is. I've never really heard him named or her named. We always talk about Ray and Dom and everybody else and the president and all those guys. I don't know who their matchmaker is, but this was a bad matchup. And that's on the matchmakers. If you didn't get the performance you want, that's on you, not on the fighters. So I just think it's a bad look. We'll run through the rest of the results real quick and then get out of here for today. Bruno Miranda with the split decision win over Alex Martinez. Close fight. I don't think there was a problem with the decision, though. Solomon Renfro, congratulations, Solomon. Glad to see you on a main roster. Got a big knockout win in the second round against Al-Salawi. Late replacement. Got put into the welterweight division. He's going to be a problem next year. So all those guys are avoiding him in the playoffs this year, but he's going to have a whole season next year, and that's going to be a problem for people. Brian Zurcher got the win over Bardsley, second round TKO, and Al Katani with the face crank submission over Lamar Brown in the first round. Out of everything we talked about, what were some of your highlights on the PFL card?
Hey man, it's got to be Solomon Renfro. The Renfro show did this thing. Like
The
he
greatest
even said,
show on earth.
Like he even said in the post fight though, he actually is dropping down to 155. So more likely next year he will be in the 155 division. You already heard him say, how he doesn't want to fight Shane. That's his big brother and everything like that. But hey man, good performance by him. To get that finish in the second round. He had Apache in his corner. Your boy over there. It was
Buffalo,
good.
New York.
It was a good job by him. And man, he killed it on the mic too, man. He was very entertaining.
I will say this: I hope he reconsiders that move to lightweight, because we've already seen with Schulte and Manfio, they will match them up. And if they get in the playoffs, there's no choice, right? That is what it is. So I think he has a chance to really dominate in the welterweight division. I would love to see returning Ray Cooper next year. Him and Renfro go at it. I think that would be a really great fight because of their size and their matchup, I think, is very similar. But I think Renfro at 170 is faster than a lot of the other fighters. He has the power. He has these very broad and muscular shoulders that can deliver some shots. If he continues working on his grappling, I think Solomon could be a problem. So I'm excited to see what he does next year. Of course, they'll probably have one more fight this year. I'm sure they'll probably fit him in on the undercard for the prelim for the championship final. So we'll see what happens with that. But congrats to Solomon. It's been a long road from the getting robbed at the UFC Dana White Contender Series, had a couple setbacks in CFFC, bounced back in a couple other promotions, and now here he is. Long road, and I'm happy for Solomon. So congrats, Solomon. Looking forward to more. Brandon, before we get out of here, anything else you want to say today? Any other gems you want to drop on the public today before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, just again, including Shane, but then that following day, we had a couple of our amateurs fight from Team Tiger Showman's, and they all won. They all went 9-0. We went so for the whole weekend. Team Tiger
10-0
went 10-0. So team is on fire right now.
Man, yeah, look, it's a good look. It's a good time. I know it's always fun in the gym when everybody's winning, right? I know there was one time, I think it was like a couple years ago, you guys had like everybody except like one fighter was on a loss. I'm like, that's no fun in the gym. Everybody's like head down, grinding. When everybody's winning, like the Brazilian Warriors, right? Like Alexa Grasso and all those teams. Like we talk about that on Crossing Borders. Like those fighters are all winning right now. It's a fun time in the gym. It's like everybody's competing even better because they're like, I want to be like that person. I want to beat that person. It shows up when the more you win, the more competitive training is. The more competitive training is, the more you win. It's just a cycle. So it's a good time. Congrats to Team Tiger Showman's and all that going on. Of course, Brandon will be back in action in September. So a lot of good stuff going on over there. But that's a wrap. Let us know in the comments what you thought of today's show. Leave a comment on what you think of what we did. We did kickboxing. We did it as a premiere this week. I'm going to do it for later today. We're going to do it for Art of MMA as well. Give you all a chance to know when the episode is dropping and get notified of that. So let us know if you like that. Let us know if you like us talking more about the fights and less about the stories, or do you want us to keep mixing it in? I need to know all these things because I want to just keep bringing the best show that I can for you guys as the producer. So I want to keep giving you what you want. So for the mechanic, Brandon Catino, go check out his collection on FightersFirst.shop. I'm Mike Ginn, Kings of MMA shirt in the shop as well. This is Art of MMA, and we're out.